Welcome to the Other Braids. I am your host, Karen Tenord, and today's topic is super cool. As a beauty professional, it's really cool to see the innovation in the beauty industry. So today's topic is about innovating the beauty industry with our amazing guest, the talented and youthful Khadijah Davis of the Hair Solutions Trolley. And we're going to be talking about scaling an entrepreneurial dream. So me as a hairstylist, people always come to me and be like, oh, so are you going to create this? Or are you going to create that? Like, you should do that. And I'm like, you know what it takes to start something, to do something while you're perfecting one thing, like as a painless
Mm-hmm.
hair, I'm more of, let me focus on the care of my client. Let me get more efficient on that and then kind of like work towards maybe coming up with a product or something like that, even though it's been years.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so I'm just kind of like excited to bring our guest, so our amazing guest, Khadijah Davis, on this, on this podcast. Please tell my audience a little bit about yourself, what
Yeah,
brought you to this innovation, and a little bit of like your history.
yeah, yeah. So I am a mom, before anything, and I am whoever I need to be, but I'm also an inventor, right? So whoever I need to be in that moment, it could be a chef, I could be a nurse for my daughter, I could be a gardener, right? But the most fun fact about me is that I am a inventor, and I invented the Hair Solutions Trolley. And this is a device that is used to help secure the placement of hair extensions. My daughter in the back. Used to secure hair extensions. And we also work with time efficiency for stylists and clients, right? Because when you're in a salon all day long when it comes to getting hair extensions, especially braids, sew-ins, like you're in the salon for a long time, right? And I grew up in a salon since I was a kid. So my grandmother owned a salon in Irvington, New Jersey, and my godmother owned a salon in Piscataway, New Jersey. And I got to experience both sides of it from being a kid, from washing out the coffee pots, wiping down the windows. And then when I got older, it was like, you're going to help us separate this hair. Okay. Because after client, there's so much prepping going on and it takes so much time, and organization. And one day I was just like, no, there has to be something on the market that looks like this and this and this. And I started Googling it and I didn't see it. And I wrote it down on paper. And I asked my godmother, I was like, can you help me get this done? And she's like, girl, this is going to be a lot. You need a lawyer. And I went and got a patent attorney. And in 2013, I had this thought. And I wasn't able to bring it to life until 2020. 2019 was when we got our patent approved. 2019 is where we developed our LLC. And that's when my baby was born. I was carrying this baby for so long, for years. And I was finally able to give birth to the Hair Solutions Trolley in 2020. And it's been such a journey. I learned so much about myself as a woman during this journey, and patience and endurance and willpower and tenacity and how to keep going through all of these different things that life throws at you. But one thing I learned is to never stop. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to pause. It's okay to reflect. It's okay to pivot, right? But don't stop. So, in summation, that is, I would like to say, my intro. I hope it wasn't too long of an intro.
No, no, no. It was just right. I think that's really important when it
Yeah,
comes to, well, thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
The importance of understanding like sometimes ideas just won't leave you alone until you give birth to it. Like it will nag at you and you're like,
Hmm.
like I wish they had this. but I wish
Yes.
it was there already. But it's like, okay, well, but that idea didn't land in anybody else's brain or mind. It landed in yours, and this is a part of your purpose and a part of your journey to
Yes.
go through those struggles and the hardships or the no's, the rejections,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
the yes. And of course, it's going to be more rejections than there is
Mm-hmm.
yes. But that yes, it just,
Yes.
it means more, right? Like, so for me, I'm like, I appreciate like all the rejections because it makes the acceptance just you just value it a little bit more because you're like, okay, I know what I've gone through. And
Right.
then when you get that yes, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm on the right track then somebody else believe in what I'm trying to do. So,
Mm.
it keeps every time you're trying to give up, it's all
Yes.
that one thing like, hey, there's an opportunity right here and be like,
Yes.
okay, stay the course, stay less,
Yes.
so
Yes.
but thank you for staying the course to doing that and seeing
Yeah.
a problem and being a solution with the Hair
Mhm.
Solutions Trolley because as a hairstylist, there's things that we're like, oh God, I wish I would have had this or
Yeah.
but being able to do something like that and um with your background, it's not, I mean, you've been in the salon, but as far as like having a license in cosmetology or beauty, that you haven't gotten that yet. So to be outside of the beauty industry and also seeing what is needed is really cool because then it
Mhm.
like kind of like sees the assistance that hairstylists and beauty professionals need because when we're doing hair, we're not thinking about, oh, okay, we just figure it out.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna put hair on this chair right
Yes.
here. Hold this real quick.
Yes.
Hand me this. Um,
Yes.
and you have like this hot. We'll get into it.
Yes. Yes.
We'll
Yes.
get we'll get into it, but like I've had like
Pictures are
battle
bomb.
wounds, battle wounds when I tell you, being a hairstylist. But so we're gonna go a little bit more deeper into the
Yeah.
questions for our listeners. So when we talk, your Hair Solutions Trolley is such an innovation solution for
Yeah.
hairstylists. What originally motivated you to create the product, and how has it been received by stylists so far?
I love this question. There's two parts to this question for me. The first part is I didn't know the impact that it will have as I was putting it on paper. And I can't explain what the feeling was. It was just like a feeling of you need to do it. Like, do it. Like, that was just the feeling that I had. And as I continued to put myself out there and develop the product and see different stylists using it in real time and them telling me, oh my goodness, this was able to cut down my day. I was either able to leave early or add more people to my schedule, or it just looks more professional, or there is no other device out here that's heating up water when I'm finished braiding my client's hair. And I love how it's all in one space and it's mobile and it rotates and all of these things. And they just started to really appreciate all the functions that were on it. And I was just like, I got to do this. Like, even during COVID, there were still women who were out here wanting to make sure their hair was done. And that was the most impactful time for me because it was the level of convenience that the trolley was bringing where these women were like, oh my goodness, I appreciate you for even letting me try this thing out. And when I got my second trolley, my generation two, it was a lot more sleek. It was a lot more modern with the design, same features, but the design was just more modern. And the stylist also appreciated the new modern look because these days everything is like being modernized and that sleek look, that compact look, because people want convenience these days, like more than anything. So, yeah, I think the fact that the stylist made me aware of the importance of it, I really got to understand because again, I don't do hair, right? Like the women in my family do. I watch them and I might have, did my friends' hair in high school and college and stuff like that, but I didn't really have the emotional feeling that stylists have when it comes to the day to day. I just seen it. I didn't know what that felt like for them. And one more thing I'll say,
Yeah.
when I watch the stylist use my features in different ways, like for example, with the hair hooks, not only were they using it for braiding hair, but they were using it for hair for sew-ins and quick weaves and clip-ins, and I started to see the versatility in each feature. So, yeah, there's a total of 6 features, but they can all be used for different things, and I was like, "Wow." Like, look how creative stylists are now getting off of this device. Like, it was so cool to see. So, that was what drove me to keep going.
No, so I was gonna go into it earlier, but I was like, I'm gonna wait. So there was the heating tool is really cool.
Yes.
There's a time like I'll carry like to my clients like a kettle, right?
Mhm.
So I was gonna
Mhm.
create a set a kettle and plug it. So I plugged this kettle on the floor because that's where her outlet was. And but she didn't have no table. So I just like kind of like put it again. There was nothing to like put it on.
Yeah.
And so when it started boiling and it was done, I unplugged it and it her outlet was really tough. So I kind of like
Yank.
pulled
Mhm.
and the water just fell. So the entire kettle fell over.
Oh,
My clients, again, my clients, um, when I go to their house, of course, I take my shoes off,
right, right,
right?
right, right.
So now my feet is exposed.
Mm,
So this hot water,
mm,
it's like it hit the side of my foot like all at once. So I'm there like in so much pain. Still got to be professional, right?
mm,
I still
mm.
got to thank God her hair was done. I just needed to now boil,
Yeah,
put
yeah,
it in hot
yeah,
water.
yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, I had to take my socks off because I was like, so I finished her hair. So I put another one on so I could boil her hair.
Finish. Yeah,
Finish.
yeah.
The whole time I'm like, I'm on my tippy toe on one foot because I'm like, oh, I'm in pain. I took a cab. This was in Jersey.
Mhm,
I live in Brooklyn.
mhm,
I had
mm.
to take a cab from Jersey to Brooklyn because I couldn't put my shoe on. Like it was that bad. Like the
The
skin,
hot
like
water.
yeah. So it was like bad. Thank God it
Mhm.
kind of healed over a couple of months.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't putting no shoes on. Like I was
No.
in the cab, like, yo, how am I gonna walk home from the cab? Like, so having this the Hair Solutions Trolley and having it where it's a component where they do carry, like you could plug in and boil the water there, dip it real quick. There's no pulling and tugging, and it would have probably saved me
Yeah.
in that incident. Um, so that was I just had to share like what a
Yes.
solution it would have been
Mm,
back then, which was a
mm,
couple of years back. But
mhm.
thank you for listening to the hairstylist and
Sure.
understanding like, with innovation, of course, there's going to be a couple of like new, you said generation two, but
Yes.
there'll be new features and things like that that can go in, and we'll also cover that in a later question. But so let's just go on to the next one. When it comes to funding and scaling your
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
you currently are in the process of raising funds
Yeah.
to manufacture more prototypes, which makes
Yeah.
sense because when you're talking about thinking about salons and doing, B2B, like they're gonna want multiple ones
Mm.
to
Yes.
share.
Cosmetology schools, all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. What has the fundraising experience been like for you, and what advice do you have for beauty entrepreneurs seeking to raise capital for their own products?
Yeah. So this is my current I don't know if obstacle's the right word, but raising funds requires consistency. It requires consistency due to communicating to your audience. What do you need, right? And what audience are you directing this to? Are you wanting to talk to stylists about this? Do you want to talk to investors about this? Do you want to talk to your family and friends about this? Like I I'm understanding the different components that it takes to raise capital. And I will say that this is a great obstacle to have because I remember at one point my obstacle was I don't have a trolley. Now I have two. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm grateful for these obstacles because this is helping me understand how far I've grown and the proof of execution. Um, to the other entrepreneurs, sorry, out there, I would say know your audience and know who can help you raise that capital, right? So whether it be your friends and family, whether it be investors, whether it be your audience, continue to understand who you want to talk to about those kind of things. And grants, right? Like do as many grants as possible. It's free. You don't have to give it back. Like I can't express grants enough. Like that is what I'm focusing on in pitch competitions, accelerator programs, like really looking to see what's suitable for me in my business and what I can apply for and just continue to keep going with that. Again, going back to that word consistency, like find the consistency of who you want to talk to about funding and where to go for funding and just be consistent with it.
I
Like
I
that's
love
what I say.
and I love the fact that that's what you're doing now. Like
Yes.
you're in it, you're also able to speak to it in real time. Because
Yes.
sometimes when you're like 4 past it, you'd be like, "What did I do during that time?" You know, like people can't really learn, or you
Yeah.
won't be able to really tap into the feeling that
Yes.
one would go through when they're trying to kind of like search for opportunities and just kind of like what this the support look like in what capacity, because people might not be able to give you the capital that you want, but maybe they'll be able to spread the news, right?
Yes.
Maybe they'll be able to be like, okay, this person is doing this, maybe I'll highlight them in this kind of way to get
Yes.
the word out. So it
Okay,
it
thank you.
never, huh?
I said, okay, thank you, Karen.
I'm done. But it's just kind of like you people have their own strengths.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to know how you can tap into those your network, which you have done, beautifully, and for just also being willing to ask for help on how to ask for help, right? Like, oh, like I don't
Yes, I
know
don't
what I'm
know.
doing. Which makes sense. And with the audience coming to listen to this podcast is doing the
Yes.
same thing. It's like, how can we be proactive and like kind of like give those information out there, like saying, do grants, go be a part of an accelerator, um,
Mhm.
and then also pitch competitions, things like that. A lot of entrepreneurs didn't know prior. I didn't
Mhm.
know about no pitch comp. What? Like, or grants, it can be scary, but I think with practice and being consistent, like, that word, you get better. Even if you get a rejection, you get better on like, oh, I worded that wrong, or I didn't fill that out properly. I'll do it better on the next time. And then maybe that will be a yes. And if it's not, it still fine tunes you to
Mhm.
ask the right questions or ask it the
Mhm.
right way to get that situation. But it's like you have to like kind of, what is it? Nag at it or gnaw at it until it is like a well-crafted
Yes.
routine to ask those questions. But you can't do that without someone giving you like that feedback or rejection. It doesn't perfect in that way. So see, I'm thinking out loud and I'm talking and
Yes,
I'm like,
yes,
that's what makes sense. Like rejection is actually a real cool molder in
yes.
perfecting
Mhm.
anything.
For sure.
Um, so okay, So that was some good tea. People take notes. Now, now when it comes to manufacturing challenges and planning for growth,
Mm,
so now you said you went from no trolley to one trolley to two
yes.
trolleys. That
Yeah.
that is literally a visible growth pattern right there. Like you literally doubled it. Um, so scaling from a prototype to full production can be a huge leap.
Yeah.
Many product-based businesses, what have been some of the challenges you faced in manufacturing? And how do you plan to expand the reach of the Solutions Trolley once funding comes through?
Yes. So this is also like how you're saying, like this is a great obstacle to have. And this is where I face like a lot of rejection, where I go to manufacturers and they might not be able to develop it. Or again, because the functions on the trolley haven't been done before, they had to make tools to even get it done, right? So there's one particular manufacturer, and I always come back to them every time. Um, and it's because they are the only ones who I know that can produce the quality that I need, right? And manufacturing is so important to me because this is a tool that's going to be syndicated, right? That women all over the world get hair extensions everywhere. So I have to make sure that this device is sustainable and the quality has to be there. This has to be a great investment for the stylist, right? My thing is longevity for the hair solutions trolley. How long will it last then? So I couldn't use plastic, right? Especially with my heating elements. I have two heating elements, so it has to be metal. And that is what differentiates me from my competitors also, is the fact that I'm thinking about the long-term goal for the stylist. And my I my obstacles for manufacturing right now is capital because it's expensive due to the material that I need, the weight that is going to be when it comes to shipping. Like, so at first I was trying to rush through the process. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, I can't rush through manufacture. I can't force it to happen at the end of this month. That's not realistic, right? Because where is this money going to come from? Like, where is this? How am I going to do that? And I had to reestablish my feelings towards that. And I had to fall in love with the journey all over again because now this is a whole new obstacle. So I had to fall in love with this process and start thinking to myself, okay, well, this is what it looks like now with the water heater, generation one. Now this is what it looks like, number two, with all my features and functions. Okay, we're getting sleeker. Okay. Now, what is generation three going to look like? Right. And how am I going to get it out to everybody? Am I going to do business to business only? Am I going to do business to business and business to consumer? Like, I'm still trying to figure out the best way and the most effective way to make sure that stylists have a direct place to come in and get these trolleys and order them. And for right now, it's looking like they can come to my website, davisbeautysolutions.com, and pre-order. Straight from
Yes,
there.
I
With
seen
the,
the website.
you so I feel like I didn't want to pick whether business to consumer or business to business. I feel like both should be an option. They both should be able to have the opportunity to pre-order this device. So that's what I'm going to stick to, and I'm just going to make it happen, right? And I think it's all about timing, the right timing
Right.
also. So I hope that wasn't a long story.
No, 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 that makes sense. And when you're talking about timing and having
Yeah.
patience, I feel like in the beauty industry, you have to have patience.
Hmm.
Uh, as a braider,
Yes.
7 hours, we still braiding.
Yes.
So like you learn about like, okay, things that are worth it, it's going to take time.
Yes.
Want it to look
Yes.
beautiful, if you want it to hit check box on the list, if you wanted to hit every one of them, then you're gonna have to take the time to do it. And understand like, okay, does this work? How can I perfect this? Are we still using this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
always be like that back and forth. So understanding that yes, metal hat, you can't handle plastic with no boiling hot water.
Yes.
Um, so it's just kind of like that place. And I can see also it in kind of like movie settings, right? Like
Yes.
thinking about like the makeup
Fashion
tool or the
shows.
glam. Uh that behind the scenes, like how can we make this process easier? Like even having it at the festival,
Yes.
and our braiders were able to kind of like hurry up, put the or the metal event where it's like
Yeah.
they were able to put the hair on the thing and just kind of like turn it around, like, okay. And if there was two people on it, they could share,
Yes.
So it's very convenient and collaborative at
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. So that's just my little feedback of seeing how it was able to work
Yes.
even on like events and stuff like that. And those are like where the big bucks are too when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
like getting eyes on it and be like, actually, I need that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. So now we're talking about balancing innovation with practicality, right? How do you ensure that the Hair Solutions Trolley remains practical and accessible? You kind of like hinted on it. Practice. How do you ensure that the Hair Solutions Trolley remains practical and accessible for stylists while incorporating the latest innovations? And are there any new features you're considering for future versions of the trolley?
So this is such a good question. Also, you got some really good questions, by the way. Like
No.
these are questions that really had me critically think and put me in the mind of the futures. I think that's also the way I was able to ensure the practicality of the trolley because in my mind in 2013, I knew that a water heater needed to be attached to the Hair Solutions trolley. And still to this day, I mean, braids aren't going anywhere. Hair extensions aren't going anywhere. If anything, these are like billion-dollar industries. The hair industry alone, salon tools alone, like these are billion-dollar industries, and this is something that we are gonna continue to invest in and be a part of. So my mind is always on, well, what hairstyles or hair installation methods are happening right now, or where are we going towards in the future? And what I'm seeing is just different ways of attaching hair extensions, whether they do I-tips, K-tips, needle and thread, hair glue. Like, I'm paying attention to the methods to make sure that, oh, can my device hold that? Can my device secure the placement of that? Can I keep the sanitary benefits there? Because we're putting hair on chairs, we're putting it on our shoulder. We're in a climate where also like all of these colds and flus and viruses are happening, right? So sanitation was also like, oh, my biggest thing. When I was working with cosmetology schools in North Carolina and Las Vegas, they were big on sanitation. And that is what I also want to make sure is a practical standpoint also.
Mm.
So when I continue to look around, I'm like, oh my God, my device is still standing through all this innovation in the hair industry. So there isn't much that I need to tweak more about the trolley other than how much more compact can I make it for those traveling celebrity stylists or those stylists who are in busy settings like behind the scenes at a fashion show. We know how it goes down behind the scenes at a fashion show.
Okay.
So I think that just making it more compact is my goal for those people who travel. and need to move around with it because my prototypes were something as I'm traveling with them, I'm like, oh my God, I got to put this together. I got to do this. I got to do that. And all I kept thinking about is that compact thing for those who are traveling, right? Because stylists who are in, what's the word I'm looking for? A stationary setting,
Mhm.
they're not leaving the salon to go do hair for the most part, right? So the generation one and generation two is perfect for that, right? But now I'm thinking about, again, those stylists who are traveling and who need something a little bit more compact. So that's where I'm going towards the future. And I'm really excited to see what I can come up with. I just literally had to call my manufacturer back, like, hey, it's me again. I'm back with some other ideas. Call me back when you get this message because I'm excited to continue to develop this for all types of stylists, right? Not just stylists who are stationary. So that's where we're going in the future.
I love that. And I think it's really important to be excited, or to see that element of excitement, because then it shows how much you care about
Mhm.
the quality of what you're selling. Like you're not
Yeah,
thinking about, I'm just gonna make money off of these stylists. You're like, I'm really trying to help these stylists because I've seen what it looks like without it. Like I've seen my family struggle, and because you love your family, you're like, how can I make this better for them? And
hmm,
you have your own stylist and stuff like that. And you're like, well, how can I make this? Because when you love people and you want to actually contribute to society in the kind of way, you want to make sure that whatever you're putting out there in the world is of good quality, and
right.
of course the sustainability. And when you spoke about like the sanitation, the trolley is easy to be wiped down, like as far as like cleaning wise, it's
Yeah.
something that I noticed also, that you had that in mind too. So with that metal, it's just kind of like quick, let me just do this.
Mhm.
So I like that. And as a traveling stylist, like I'm like, okay, like I almost lit up. I'm like, oh, you thinking about the travel stylist? Okay, that's me. And you wouldn't have known that if you weren't also traveling.
Correct.
People are like, oh, bring the trolley here, bring it. You like, oh, wait, hold up. I got it. I can't. It's like you was talking about time efficiency, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how long is it gonna take for me to set this up? And also, like, after a while, am I going to keep doing this and traveling back and forth? And you said you went from Vegas, to New York, to all these places, and it's like how can, when you're thinking about like, yo, but you would only know how to solve that problem if you wasn't met with that problem, right?
Correct. Correct.
So those are the little fun parts of the journey where you
Yes.
fall in love and be like, oh, okay, I can only perfect this by going through this. So
Yes.
yeah, because we've been
Be
struggling.
considerate. I want to be considerate to all the stylists and make sure that I give them something that they can really fall in love with. And I think you mentioned it earlier when you were like, um, there's problems that we face in the salon, and then the solution is the Hair Solutions Trolley. That's where I got the name from. I was like, oh, I need a resolution solution. Like, how can I play with hair solutions? Like, so I just was like playing around with those words. And that was the theme that I was going through at the time. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to find solutions for their passions. Like, your thing is specifically braids, whether it's hair extensions, weaves, quick weaves, barbers are now like using the trolley, asking to use the trolley too. So I'm just like, I can really take this thing so far
Yeah,
for all cosmetologists.
yeah, it's like when you do something, it's like, oh my God, this can actually work. While you was talking, I was there like, a creative artist can also use it,
Yes.
especially with the water component, with the brushes and mixing and stuff like that. So it's so many, like I think so many people indirectly can use it,
Yes.
especially when you're in a creative thing. You're like, oh, I can actually
Yes.
here and like we will
Yes.
figure it out and we will use it for multiple uses. Like,
Yes. Yes.
so thank you. You're on to something.
Of
You've
course.
gone so far. And I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for
Mhm.
like what you have been able to do in the beauty industry without being like a beauty professional. But I guess
Yeah.
you're kind of a beauty professional because you're literally in the but it's like, but keep the childlike innocence where it's just kind of like, oh, I want to do more. Like this is great because I think when people lose that, like they get
Mhm.
the why, and then it kind of loses that element of
Mm.
magic, right?
Yes.
People start to see it fade when you know
Mm.
you make when people make their product or their business a it feels like a burden to them instead of
Yeah.
that they're like a gift.
Yes.
And like when you were talking about the consumers, the business, I feel like you're still just B2B because hairstylists are like business, like they are just individual.
Yeah.
They're more of like the smaller scale rather than the bigger scale.
Correct.
Right? Because
Yeah.
most people they're gonna hire a stylist, but it's just kind of like maybe a one-man business uh
Mhm.
till they're like more. So you're still kind of like B2B.
I like that. Thank you for opening up my mind to that. Because in my mind, I'm thinking they would be considered a consumer, but you're right. They're still a business at the end of the day, just
Yeah.
a smaller scale.
Yeah, girl.
That's like, first of all, I just want to say this, okay? Because you really have such a huge impact when it comes to my story. Like, you were my second yes. Like, very impactful from going to the Meta building, taking me there with you, taking me there with you to the Navy Yard, having me speak on a panel, introducing me to Yumi, and actually Khadijah Doso. I reached out to her prior, like a year prior to your event, right? And this is when she had just won the Black Ambition Prize, like a few months later. So she was like just getting everything like put together, like she was in a groove of everything. And I did a consultation with her. I didn't even have the trolley in the physical form yet. I was showing her a 3D rendering of it. And to meet her for the first time in person at your event at the Meta building, like huge, like you have such a huge impact on my story. I can't wait to take you on a yacht trip. Like,
Girl, I will be there. But like, and the thing is through my client is how I knew about you.
yes, Jayla,
Yes,
yes,
she's like, oh my God, Karen, you need to reach out to the person. I'm like, okay, Jayla. And every time we met up, like I'm doing her hair, she's saying like, you need to speak to this person. So like I'm
shout out to
giving
her.
credit where credit's due. Like just
Yes,
but I like there's again, she's seen like the connection and she's seen what you was doing. And in her way of supporting you, she's like, well, my hairstylist. And I'm like, well, I'm doing this because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this cornrows and cornbread thing. She's been like, yo. And I felt like, okay, if I'm gonna reach out to somebody, I need to reach out to you when I have like a purpose instead of,
yes.
just being like, well, let me use it. Like, I'm like, let me do an event where it can be utilized and then it could
Yes.
be used by other braiders and have
Mhm.
those, have Khadijah. And it's always by those special chances that you meet people and they say yes. Like Khadijah is like, oh, sure. And also giving her the space to kind of like pop up at,
Yes.
Meta and things like that and connect her. So I think it's like extensions. We all are extensions of each other where we kind of like
Yes.
bringing people together. So I am happy to be a part of your story, but I'm not the only one though.
Correct. I tell Jayla every time, like, girl, you don't know how much you helped me, like, just by introducing me to one person. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's not about having 100 people. Like, it's about having the right people, right? And all you need is that one person to help you understand where you are in your journey and how to keep perfecting things. And I just knew, like, it was a safe space. Like, I felt so safe. I felt like everybody was so genuine and wanted to really connect and learn. Like, kudos to you guys. Like,
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I think we meet people at who like with the heart that we have, right?
yes.
Of course, you'll get some people who are not really whatever, but
Mhm.
for the most part, you'll get people who are genuine about it and really care. So it's just kind of like, and when you see that, you appreciate them a little bit more. So it's like,
Mhm.
how can I help you? Because like you have a good heart or you have a good head on your shoulders or you care. And that's for me, like where I'm like, oh, I recognize the person who's genuine. Like I'm like, oh, okay. But in this industry, like
Yeah.
you have to, like my pastor would say, it's like, uh, you're gonna learn real quick, but it's like to hire slow, fire fast, right? It's
Mm. Mhm.
also in product development. It's like
Mm.
work on it slow, but as soon as you see it's not working, just move on or tweak it or pivot in a way that will make it make sense. So
Mhm.
um all right, I think we're gonna go into the last question,
Okay.
which is the power of network. I mean, I feel like we just touched on that. So
Right.
the power the power of networking and support. Raising funds and scaling a business takes a strong support network. How important was your community? We literally just touched on that. How important has your community and network been in getting the Hair Solutions Trolley to this stage? And what advice would you give other entrepreneurs looking to build strong connections?
Ah, love this question. So I think having the right people, right, who have that integrity, who have that tenacity, right? Having those people around you, the people who really believe in you, right? Having them around you can be so impactful because just a simple share, just a simple conversation that they can give. Everybody can't always support financially. And as an entrepreneur, I think the best thing that I can advise someone of or encourage them to think is support comes in many different ways. And the economy is also tough right now. Like, just to touch on that, like, this economy is real tough right now. So I think we should focus on the conversation, right? Word of mouth, because someone might not have that financial assistance, but they can show you where the grants are. They can show you to a grant writer. They can show you to a pitch competition, accelerator program. Like, people can give you information, right? And I think that is where we should start, the informational part about how to keep your business going. Not just on, again, funding, but branding, knowing your audience. Like, what do you really want to do with your business? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you have a business plan? Like, do you have a business model? Like, all of these things are information, right? Different points of information. So I think if you continue to network with the right people, and then one person can introduce you to another person, one person can see you here and connect at an event or connect online, like, someone can help you in that way. And that's greater to me than a financial exchange, honestly. Like, that information can go with me for the rest of my life, right? Money comes and goes, right? It's gonna get spent, right? But if all that money leaves me, I can find a way to get it back thanks to that information.
This is true.
So that's what I would encourage entrepreneurs to look as uh, look into as far as support. And it doesn't matter how many likes you get. It doesn't matter how many views you get. You just show up for yourself and for your business and you take it serious so that other people can take it serious. And I'm learning to be more consistent. Like I'm learning that again, it's not about who's liking it. Like I don't need 1,000 people to like it, although it will be nice, but who's liking it that genuinely like it? Like not just liking it because I'm their friend or their family member, or like who's liking this because they really need it and they can take that information and give it to someone else. Like that is what I'm fine tuning my focus on, like the right people,
This
the
is
right supporters, So that's my advice on that.
And I'll say mic drop because that's literally what we kind of like touched back on
Yeah.
just right before this question. Because people they get carried away or caught up in like, oh, this person is not buying my product. This person's like you said, the economy is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like people are getting laid off left to right. And they still have to show up. They have personal stuff that they're going through and bills or something goes missing or broken or something like that that they gotta it should be like, Lord. So like being able to kind of like show up in a way where it's okay to be like, okay, let me just put you in the right or have this conversation or just be like, okay, uh, have you thought of it this way? Or like just pour into that knowledge, like, oh, I learned this and I'm gonna share that with you. Because like you said, it's like teaching someone how to fish rather than just giving them a fish for a day.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
so that was a little deep. This conversation was really good. I feel like a lot of people can learn from it.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna go with the last three questions, which is more of like how people get to know you a little bit,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
our first question is what is something people are surprised to learn about you?
I think the number one thing is that I'm an inventor. Like you don't hear that a lot. And I remember when I was first like telling people like, yeah, I'm gonna do an invention. I have an invention. And this is in 2013. So they were just like, what? Like, haha. And then when I actually did it, it was like, oh snap, like she's really taking it serious. Like it's not a joke. And I think that's the most surprising thing is the patent that I was able to achieve and that I actually went through that process.
Okay, so funny thing when you spoke about like the images and people be like, you actually put together a solution that I years ago I had this idea of invention and drew it up and everything like that. And I don't know if I sent it in or something like that, but
Yeah.
it was a hanger that had like hooks.
Mm,
And because I was dealing with weave and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, that would be really good. So it's
yeah.
similar to what you
Yeah.
thinking, but I never really went through with it. I was just like, this would be great. And then I was like,
Oh,
well, girl, I gotta go do some hair. And so,
yeah.
like uh so there's gonna be a next question and it's gonna lead, but I'm gonna kind of like go with there's a book that I read and it's called Big Magic, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
it is about how ideas literally will find people, right?
mhm,
It would it like ideas are living and they're trying to be birthed. And you were saying like you had this baby and you finally birthed it. Like if you don't take it, if you don't be like, okay, I'll do it, they'll just find someone else to do
yep.
it.
Yep.
And I feel like I was just like, wait, I, but it was like, Karen, you ain't doing nothing with this. Like, I'm gonna go float and I find somebody who's actually gonna be able to do this because
Yeah.
you playing with me. But but it wasn't into that, no, nothing of that scale. It was just something like, can we put this hair up, especially when we're doing dyeing hair, right?
Mm, mhm.
Where do you put the hair? Like I usually
Yes.
just put it on the foil paper and it's like leave it, but I'm there like it needs to drip dry. So that was like my thing. But
Yeah.
like you said, I didn't know who the hell to talk to, and I didn't know. I just was like, this is a lot of work.
Yes.
I'm
It
doing
it
it.
was.
So I
It
think
was.
it makes sense that it was somebody like you to come up with something like that because
Thank you.
a beauty like a beauty professional, we're already doing so much in the creative aspect is to also create something like more of like a tool or something like that. It's
Yes.
really hard to do that because you have to use a different part of your brain. So
Yes.
and we gotta make this money like right away. So we need to work.
And when you say that, that puts me in like that was literally my godmother because I went to her like, here's my idea. I was working aside her in her shop, like helping her prepare. And I went to her with it, and we were standing at her desk, like where they check out at. And I'm like, I drew it right there, and I'm like, Biscuit, look at this. And she's like, oh, this is great. This is a really good idea, but you're gonna need a lawyer. I don't have the time for this. Like, this is a lot that's gonna go into this. She told me straight up, like,
Like, nah,
and
this is hurting my brain.
yes, like I got clients in the chair right now. Like, this is great, but go get a lawyer. Like, and that was her form of support in a moment, right? Like, who knew me growing up as a shop baby that it would develop into that? Like, so yes,
But
a
see,
1000%.
and thank God she didn't just wave it off like, girl. She's like,
Because I
nah,
wouldn't have known what to do.
yeah, she's like, that's actually a good idea. Go get a lawyer so you could get that done. So she's seen the value in it right away, which is really good to have that. So the next thing would be what book do you feel would be a good resource that you could recommend?
I'm stuck between The Artist's Way, and a lot of people know about the four agreements. So I would say between those two because I feel like, and the reason why I suggest those two is because, and getting deep again, there is that there is that force that just comes from, it's nothing but the creator, it's nothing but God that's really pushing you to do it. And there's a spiritual connection that must happen. And creators that are here in a physical form, yourself, stylists, like all of these different creators, I feel like we're direct door to the creator. Like there's a relationship that we got with God that is we like this. So I feel like having that having those agreements and those laws, those spiritual laws and agreements, um, will help with the mindset while we're trying to get it done in the physical, right? Because I feel like our creations are a spiritual part within ourselves that we bring to life. And I think that those two books helped me dig deep into myself, right? And because I was able to dig deep like that, I was able to keep going and find a why and keep developing. I don't know if is the right thing to say keep developing a new why, but things changed for me. Like my obstacles changed, so my why had to change. Like in order to keep me motivated, and my connection with the creator had to get deeper for me to put myself out there when I was feeling so vulnerable. I remember doing your panel and coming to your event, I was so nervous. Like, oh my God, I just kept saying, God, please control my tongue. Like, I don't know. Like, don't let me get up here and be like, like, help me find the words. Like, I was so nervous, but again, it was like that sense of like, that comfortability after you have that conversation, that prayer with God. Like, you feel comfortable. By the end of the event, I was comfortable. Like, I was dancing, I was doing like gym workouts, like laughing with everybody, talking. Like, oh my goodness. So I feel like, again, long-winded answer. But those two books right there are my two favorites that help me dig deep into the whole aspect of things.
No, I get it. And again, thank you for the feedback for the event and your experience. But I
Yes.
really feel like I'm too like I agree with you full-heartedly when you said being in your creative mode and stuff like that, you're closer to the creator that way because you're
Mhm.
producing something out of nothing, right? Like that's
Yes.
really the epitome of like God, like let there be light,
Yeah.
like it was dark, you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you speak things into existence and you're actually manifesting and you kind of like tap into that power because we all create
Yes.
an image of
Yes.
God. So we are more like him in when we create. So
Yes.
um, so it makes sense where there's like magic and this life that that happens when you discover something new that you've done, and it's just like, oh, like you just kind of like become a new creature every time. It's like, oh, I just did this. Oh my God, like I'm really dope. And you get that validation from within. And it's just
Yes.
kind of like, yo, I'm powerful. Like I can actually, it's reassuring. I can actually do what I say I want to do, or I can, if I'm
Hmm.
thinking and imagine it, I can create that. So it's just like that reminder of like whatever you really put your mind to, you can actually do, but you just have to do it. And
Yes.
it's not going to be easy,
Yep.
um, but it'll be worth it. And it's very few people, everybody has access to this, but very few people tap into it. And I think that's
Yeah.
where it's like celebrated, like you got through the life, like the stuff of life and stuff like that, and you were able to still focus and create something. Like that is amazing. And
Thank
shout out to
you.
you for also being on the panel. You weren't only on my panel.
Correct.
You were not only on
Correct.
my panel, you have made it to Curl Fest, this stage. And so congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you doing your panel prepared me for Curl Fest, right? Like I'm telling you, like such a full circle moment time after time that it's a spiritual thing, Like, and I was so shy and then I'm learning to get out of it because I'm really truly outgoing and I think the world needs to see more of that of my personality, but I've been battling like how to do that, like how to introduce myself to the world. And those panels are helping people hear my voice and see my face and then hopefully become familiar. And thank you.
Oh,
Thank
but
you.
I think it's really good because people
Yeah.
like if you're similar to me. Like I will
Yes.
say certain things and I get nervous and stuff like that. And I would, but I like cracking jokes. Like that's my thing. Like I'll just be like start laughing and people be like, that's not appropriate or whatever. But I'm like, don't it make for good content though? Like
Yes.
being
Yes.
yourself. So like you bring that like that innocence and that joy, like you'd be like, I don't know, like, and you'll just say stuff where it makes it enjoyable because no one wants to
Yeah.
be like listening to a robotic panel or
Yeah.
people on that's not really real. Like you can't
Right.
relate to me, like then it's not a connection, right? So it's like
Right.
um being on that panel and being beside like Khadijah and like and then who was it, Erica and Wendy.
Yes. Yes.
It was just kind of like these are people making changes and they do need to like have a voice and speak on certain things because there are a lot of people like us and that feel like maybe my voice no one know want to know what the hell I'm saying because we see ourselves as just a part of the bigger picture and not really understanding how important our role is in that picture where it's like yeah no you're a part of the book. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, don't ever like change when it
Thank
comes to
you.
getting on the panel and feel like, oh, I should be like this, or I should not say this, or like it's just like as long as you're comfortable
Yes.
and allow spirit to lead you in the conversation, you should be fine,
Yes.
right? So that's my little two piece. This is
Thank
not
you.
an interview. I feel like the podcast episodes is really about you, but I feel like, that need to just kind of like reassure, like,
Yes.
um, everybody needs that element of something different, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
look forward to not having that same old panel or that same old product or the same old experience. It's like I need
Mhm.
something new, and innovation is what you do. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so now the last question is how people can
Yes.
support and connect with you.
People can connect with me on Instagram, Davis Beauty Solutions, Facebook, Davis Beauty Solutions, K Davis, KAEDAVIS. I'm on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn now. Like I am falling in love with LinkedIn, y'all. Y'all should get on LinkedIn if y'all not. Khadijah Davis on LinkedIn. And last but not least, my website, davisbeautysolutions.com.
Woo! Yo, and yes, LinkedIn is very professional and it's really getting up there where it's like, okay, we writing articles, like it's more interactive now than it was. It
Yes,
was boring before.
yes, thank you.
But
That just made my
congratulations.
day, Karen.
Oh, you're welcome. But congratulations for having a LinkedIn, because it does like, because people in the professional, they're
Yeah,
not really asking for Instagram. They're like, you have a LinkedIn?
correct.
Like, you have a LinkedIn? Yes. They'd be like, okay, that shows you're about your business. Like you. So I think that's the also level when we're thinking about resource, right, for braiders and want to kind of like step into being a business for themselves, even though they are, it's hard for them to see themselves as business because it's been looked at so much as like a hustle or a hobby.
Mm,
Literally what can make money. So if you're making money off of it, then it is a business. So
mhm.
that's a really good last minute
Yes,
resource with saying LinkedIn. So thank you
yes.
so much, Khadijah.
Thank you. This was awesome. Like, it was so awesome. I cannot wait to see this back. Like, I'm telling you, this is going to be another historical stamp in the story. I'm pretty sure. Thank you for bringing me here and giving me yet another opportunity to let people hear my voice and see my face. And I'm so grateful, and I thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All received. Thank you. Thank you. And to everybody who's listening, thank you so much for listening and tuning in to The Art of Braids. Again, I am your host, Karen Tenord, and you are listening to Khadijah Davis of the Hair Solutions Trolley.
Yes.
Bye.